Love 'em or hate 'em, I'm talking about remakes today. In particular, I'll be talking about my general feelings about them and also making the case for why one particular movie should be remade and who should remake that movie. But first, my name is Chris. You can find me across social media as the Baba Duchess, part-time amateur movie critic and horror blogger, and full-time drive-in mutant. And remakes can be a hot button subject for fans of any genre, but especially in the horror community. In general, I myself am not against remakes. My issue comes with how they're made, why they're made. A lot seem to be just a quick cash grab on a name, and they don't even bother trying to come up with some kind of original take on it. Because for me, if you're going to remake a movie, you should bring something new to it. Attack it from a different angle, maybe shift the focus of the story, but at the heart, it should still be about that movie. We see a lot more, especially now, because the money people in Hollywood, they don't like to take risks. And they know that with a remake, they can make some of that money back just on curiosity alone. That, and if it tanks, they can say, well, it worked before. It just, I don't know why it didn't work now. So it's really just people kind of trying to hedge their bets on making a successful movie. Now, remakes have happened since movies were a thing. It's not new. It just seems, like I said, now there just seem to be a lot more of them just because people see them as a safer bet for their money investment. Personally, even if I don't like the movie, at least if you come at it from an original place and still keep the heart of that movie, I'm fine with it. You tried, it didn't quite work. Just try not to make it that you're making an obvious cash grab. There are some remakes that I have liked. I liked the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, with that being said, the original is still the GOAT. This doesn't mean that it's better. I just enjoyed what was done with it. I also liked the Dawn of the Dead remake. And this is where I admit that I am a bad horror fan because I don't care all that much for the original Dawn of the Dead. And I'm not even saying that the remake is better, I just liked it more. So I don't really have a hard stance on remakes. Do I roll my eyes at a lot of them? Yes. I mean, Prom Night Anyone, that was just terrible. But then they'll take something like The Hills Have Eyes and still have the major story, but also kind of go off in some other directions, maybe flesh out some other ideas that maybe were a little smaller in the original movie. So they have a place. And I also understand people who just flat out don't like any of them. Come up with your own idea, you know? And just because a remake is made, it doesn't mean the original stops existing. Sometimes remakes can be a better version of the original where maybe they didn't have the budget, which again, that can give movies a certain charm when they're low budget. But maybe the writing wasn't quite there. Maybe they knew what they were trying to say, but couldn't quite say it. Kind of like me in this video right now. And that is the case I will make with the movie that I am talking about today. Now, I had originally planned to make this video about a handful of movies I thought could use a decent remake. But as I did make a list, there was one movie that I just know more about, but I think I can really make a good case for and would really just like to see happen. That movie is called Manos, the Hands of Fate. And yes, if you have even a rudimentary understanding of Spanish, that title does translate to Hands, the Hands of Fate. So right there, we are off to a great start. Now, this is a movie that anyone who is a fan of MST3K or Riff Tracks, this movie is infamous. It has to be one of the worst things ever put on screen, yet it also has this odd charm to it where you just need to see it to believe it. I have revisited this movie many times, both with the original episode of MST3K with Joel, and then it was also done with the Riff Tracks company with some of the guys from MST3K, and they also have a studio version and a live version. My favorite of all of those is the Riff Tracks studio version. It's just hilarious. So if you don't want to watch this movie as is, I highly recommend that you seek out one of those versions. You will have a good time. This was a movie made on a shoestring budget, and it is plainly obvious. It is also obvious that nobody really knew what they were doing in terms of making a movie. Um, the director, producer, Hal Warren, was an insurance and later fertilizer salesman who basically had just made a bet with someone I could make a horror movie. And hey, I give him credit. He did. As bad as this movie is, this guy made a movie. He saw it through, and I do have respect for that. And this movie is the story of a mother and father with their child going on their first vacation together, and that plot point is made. It never goes anywhere, but they mention this is their first vacation together, even though their child is probably, 8 years old. It's just one of those little things that just gives me a chuckle. And it just opens up with this just interminable driving scene. Apparently, there were supposed to be credits rolling over it, and and that just didn't happen. So it is just, I don't even know how many minutes of just driving through El Paso, Texas. The father, who is also played by director Hal Warren, is a very grumpy, stereotypical, just 60s dad. He just wants to get where he's going. He doesn't care. And they get lost and end up in this isolated area in front of this house with a very sketchy man standing in front of it. And they decide, hey, this guy looks cool. Let's ask him for directions. They ask directions. Guy has no idea what they're talking about. It's getting late. Maybe we'll just stay here because this seems like a cool place. And this new character that we are introduced to is named Torgo. Instead of a hunchback, they gave him hunched knees, I guess. In an early draft of the script, apparently he was supposed to be revealed to be a satyr. So that's why he kind of looks like he's hiding goat legs. But that just never went past the first draft. I think that would have made for a much more interesting movie. And this weirdo is just standing there saying, nope, can't stay here. And he keeps talking about an entity called the Master. The Master wouldn't like you being here.
Cannot stay. The master would not approve.
But hey, it's getting late. This place seems cool. So Dad's like, well, can we stay here? Let's just stay. And then, of course, you have the car isn't going to start. The wife, meanwhile, is just, no, this isn't right. This place is creepy. I don't want to stay here. And that's pretty much her throughout the movie, is just saying, this is weird. I don't like it here. And really, the rest of this movie is just her saying she doesn't like it here. She wants to get out of here. This place isn't right. And she's not wrong. So they go in the house. They're kind of going back and forth over, well, this is all creepy, whatever. The family dog, who is also with them, takes off, and they find it in the desert. Of course, they lie to their daughter, oh, your dog ran away. Then, as the parents are kind of having their back and forth, deciding what they want to do for the night, their daughter gets up and disappears. And the fun part about this part is that they don't really seem too stressed or like interested in really looking for her. You know, they just kind of open one door and kind of go, oh, she's not in here. It's it's just, the tone is just really weird. Dad goes outside to see what he can see, and Mom is left alone in the house, and Torgo is like spying on her. She's just standing in the bedroom yelling out for her husband. She's probably the most helpless character I've ever seen in a movie. It's just hilarious. I mean, even in Night of the Living Dead, Barbara still had enough wherewithal to smack Ben in the face. So in the midst of all this confusion, we as the audience learned that in, I guess, like the backyard, there's like this weird altar kind of thing, and there's a bunch of women leaning against posts, sleeping, all wearing the same kind of gauzy dress. And when they come to, they all start arguing about what this character of the Master would want. He wants this woman, but he doesn't want the girl. So we've got to kill everybody else. Meanwhile, Torgo is talking to the wife about the Master and how he wants her, but he can't have her because Torgo wants her. And she just proceeds to stand there and just scream for her husband when Torgo is not even remotely menacing.
Where in the world can he be? Mike! Mike!
So we have hapless family, missing kid, dead dog, and then a cult in the backyard. And then we are introduced to the master in his long, snuggy looking robe with giant red handprints on it. He is not pleased with Torgo, because Torgo is starting to give him some sass about how he wants a woman. Master's not having it. The women are for him. So he's telling Torgo that he's going to be punished. And meanwhile, the women in the backyard altar thing are in the dirt fighting over whether or not they're going to keep this woman and then like kill the father and child. It's bonkers. Honestly, I don't even think I did this story justice. It truly has to be seen to be believed. Now, with the information, with what I've given you, I am going to give you my suggestion of who should make this movie. And that person is Rob Zombie. I think he could work wonders with this because it's just this little story. I mean, not a lot really goes on. It only takes place in, in an interminable driving scene in this one room in this house and in a backyard Stonehenge looking thing. I don't know. And the movie itself isn't even that long. I don't even think it's an hour and 15 minutes. But you give Rob Zombie a creepy desert setting with a cult, you just let him run with it. I think Torgo would be a fun character to cast. I don't even have any suggestions for that one, and I have given it some thought. I would love to see who Rob Zombie himself would cast as Torgo. But we could modernize the setting, maybe expand the set a little bit, maybe have, flesh out the location a little bit more, maybe even have the parents care that their kid is missing. It could go in a lot of directions, and I just see this really being in his wheelhouse, especially after something like Lords of Salem that had kind of like a culty vibe to it. And what's funny about that movie is the first time I saw it, I didn't like it. And I like most of his films. And then I rewatched it a couple years ago. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I am just that age of a Gen Xer where I have just had it with everything. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying it didn't have its flaws, but maybe I was just kind of commiserating with my inner, Salem witch. I don't know, but the same vibes that movie had, I think you could apply to this one. I think it would work very well. Actually, I would like to see maybe Bruce Davidson play the father. But this is a movie it absolutely could do with the remake treatment. And I still get enjoyment from the original. It is a treasure in its own way. But I would just love to see Rob Zombie work with some of the things that are already there and then just flesh it out. Because in this case, that is what a remake should do. You're taking a movie that isn't as well known. I mean, it's well known in, like cult movie circles, but not everybody's overly familiar with it because that's where a lot of remakes fail as well. Because sometimes when it's such a familiar movie and a well-received one, you just don't want it touched. That's probably why no one's really tried to remake Jaws. It's a beloved movie that doesn't need to be remade. There's plenty of other ways to do movies about sharks, and there have been. So here you're taking something not overly familiar that you can run with. I think his visual style would work really well. A lot of it takes place at night. You could have a lot of fun with light and shadows and just creeping images, things kind of dissolving in and out of frame. I just really would love to see that happen. But that is my case for remaking this particular movie. It does have so many interesting components to it that when you take them out of the context of the movie, you're like, okay, well, that is an interesting idea, but just done so poorly and really laughably. But again, that is part of the movie's charm. Honestly, the world is a better place for being able to laugh at a film like Manos. So those of you who've seen it, what do you think? What do you think of my idea for the director? Or do you have an idea that you think would work? And also, what are some of the remakes that you've liked or not liked? What is something you would like to see remade? I look forward to hearing people's thoughts on this. It's just a fun creative exercise. So if you had fun with this video, like, share, subscribe. All of it helps me out. And as always, like what you like, don't be a dick, and empathy is a superpower.